Καλησπέρα σας. Σας καλωσορίζουμε στο...
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the InnoWise Challenge Lab and the final stage for the call for competition, which aims at promoting and showcasing the problem of water scarcity and the tangible support to startups who are here to propose innovative solutions and ideas for the correct management of water resources. Well, that is why we're here today, this afternoon, in order to listen to people who have identified innovative ideas representing 7 startups, the so-called finalists of our competition. These people, via the various workshops, their work, and of course their efforts, have managed to excel and arrive at this final stage of the competition. Moreover, let me say that the competition is a work that is taking place under the framework of Water Scarcity Initiative that is implemented by the European Institute of Innovation and Technology, the EIT, and the support of EIT Food Hub, and of course, industry disruptors, game changers. The aim of this initiative is to be able to identify 2 winners, one of whom will actually receive 10,000 euros, as well as the second one will receive the amount of 5,000 euros. Now, before that, we will be able to hear people from 2 different panels who will actually give us their view, their opinion, and their vision about a modern, safe, and of course, rational management of water resources at the urban and of course the rural landscape. So let me now turn to Mr. Athanasios Kyriazis, General Secretary of Research and Technology, representing Greece. Thank you.
Καλησπέρα κύριε Κυριαζή.
Good afternoon, Mr. Kyriazis. Good afternoon. Mr. Kyriazis, as Secretary General of Research and Innovation, would like to hear from you at which extent research and innovation can contribute to the implementation of new solutions that can actually promote environmental and financial sustainability. Well, initially, I would like to thank you for this kind of invitation in this special event this afternoon, which is inaugurating this new type of events, which is related to innovation and sustainable development, which is the topic on which I would like to say a few words. Now, scientific research, technological development, and innovation are a great input for social cohesion and, of course, financial development and growth. Now, a series of researches shows and underlines the importance of growth, which, of course, is related from a set of factors and parameters like financial sustainability and stability, the financial environment, the structure of the economy, the technological know-how of companies, and, of course, the know-how of personnel. Contribution of R&D in technological development is of paramount importance. It seems that a growth in terms of there's a problem with the sound, I'm sorry. The increase in R&D expenditure will help grow the GDP. But let's not forget that on the other side, we're still facing important problems like water scarcity, which creates impediments and obstacles against this notorious growth we are talking about. So we need to do more to protect our water resources. That is why the General Secretariat of Research and Development has included its priorities as they are described in the national strategy for this particular field, the questions related to the field, and of course, also a great focus on water resources. Let's not also forget that we are dealing with a structured consultation with all stakeholders, which take part in the ecosystem of innovation from the side of innovation, and of course, from the different social services. The objective was to identify new opportunities to promote knowledge in different value of chain.
In this framework, we managed to promote lately, in terms of sustainable development and environment, the importance of investing in R&D for monitoring and protection of water resources. So we managed to contribute quantitatively and qualitatively in various fields through different stakeholders who participate in these consultations, as the management, as local authorities, the different risk management authorities, and of course, private sector. Now, our research institutions, as well as our universities, are active parts of the European research community by playing an important and primordial role in issues related to climate change. Moreover, let us not also forget the important contribution of private Greek companies and, of course, the public sector. Already, through the special institution which is called Research, Create, Innovate, we managed to have some new desalination efforts in our Greek islands for the protection of the environment and, of course, the greater management of the water scarcity. So we believe that we will be able to promote the sustainability of the environment via a multitude of efforts in this field. We also have some methodologies for the promotion of natural disasters related to the geology, to season, and others. Moreover, in the multi-annual plan of financing and funding of research infrastructures, we managed to fund infrastructures related to the monitoring of activities of our water supplies, our water systems, and our groundwaters. Let me just refer, for example, to the special actions for the aquaculture and, of course, industrial materials, which aim at focusing on the collaboration between R&D and private companies in order to implement R&D projects and innovation, of course, that the outcome and results will be utilized in different projects. Already we have 24 cooperative projects for aquaculture and 24 projects in industrial materials. Let's not also forget the research infrastructure HELPOS, which is the Greek system for the monitoring of the so-called lithosphere or the Earth's crust, with the support of another 9 partners. Let's also not forget the important research infrastructure that promotes the technology of seas and, of course, the surface waters, which has a budget of 4 million euros, which has as a coordinator the Center of Sea Research and other 8 partners. And let's not forget the Panacea infrastructure, which is an infrastructure for the research of the atmospheric composition, which has a budget of 4 million euros and a coordinator, 14 different partners. Let's not forget that our secretary collaborates with the Ministry of Environment and Energy in the greater framework of the national plan for the climate in order to be able to have the appropriate funding in the long term. Moreover, we have synergies that we have established with some other ministries, as the Ministry of Transport, Ministry of Agriculture, Development, and others. We also offer a greater focus in the position of Greece against the area and the field of science, and of course this demands more funding from public and private sector. Now, the collaboration and interrelation between the product of and the outcome of research and innovation and entrepreneurship is the added value that should be extracted from these efforts. Let us not forget that if we truly wish to continue to develop our community and our country, and of course our lives in general, we need to identify a new financial model that will decrease all industrial waste, will decrease any kind of negative outcome. So going towards a cyclical economy is the solution in order to be able to create a new era for development and growth by respecting cyclical economy and essentially respecting the environment. We believe that we will be able to create a true financial benefit of 1.8 trillion by 2030, to create 1 million new jobs at the EU, and play a role of paramount importance in the reduction of gas emissions. So the new program period 2021-2027 offers some additional opportunities in investing in R&D by offering an emphasis to the creation of a truly smart and climatically neutral Europe through the different EU fundings. In this framework, the General Secretariat of R&D in Greece, through research, and especially through the research that its outcome have a tangible consequence to innovation economy, will help us live under better conditions. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you, Mr. Kyriazis. Research and development, as you said, is the solution towards a new sustainable financial model. Allow us to say that this particular competition is under this water scarcity initiative through the support of EIT Food Hub and the industry disruptors and industry changers. And we wish to underline the importance for these people. And we have two winners, one who will receive 10,000 euros and second 5,000 euros. And we will see afterwards through the different presentations of the startups. At this point, I would kindly invite Mr. Michalis Stangos, who is the founder of Industry Disruptors, who is the EIT Food Hub in Greece.
Καλησπέρα. Να καλωσορίσω και τον κύριο Κυριαζή και...
Καλησπέρα κύριε Στάγκο.
Good afternoon, Mr. Stangos.
Με την ευκαιρία θα ήθελα να καλωσορίσω και τον κύριο Κυριαζή και τους υπόλοιπους και τους διαγωνιζόμενους, τους υπόλοιπους συνομιλητές μας και τους διαγωνιζόμενους και να τους ευχηθώ καλή επιτυχία.
So, Mr. Stangos, could you please elaborate on what is EIT Food and what the hub is doing in Greece?
Καταρχήν, το EIT είναι μια πρωτοβουλία της Ευρωπαϊκής Επιτροπής, το οποίο σκοπό είχε να ενδυναμώσει συνολικότερα το κομμάτι της καινοτομίας και της επιχειρηματικότητας στις ευρωπαϊκές χώρες που συμμετέχουν. Το EIT Food είναι μια πανευρωπαϊκή κοινοπραξία επιχειρήσεων, ερευνητικών κέντρων και πανεπιστημίων από 13 χώρες και έχει επί της ουσίας σκοπό να ενδυναμώσει αυτή τη σύμπραξη, αυτό το τρίγωνο της γνώσης που λέμε, και να ενδυναμώσει και την επιχειρηματικότητα και την καινοτομία στον χώρο των τροφίμων και της αγροδιατροφής. Είναι δεδομένο ότι είναι αναγκαίος αυτός ο μετασχηματισμός σε ένα νέο μοντέλο παραγωγής, μεταφοράς και κατανάλωσης τροφίμων, για να μπορέσουμε επί της ουσίας να αντιμετωπίσουμε 2-3 πολύ σημαντικά θέματα. Θα έχουμε ένα πλανήτη το 2050 με σχεδόν 10 δισεκατομμύρια ανθρώπους, που δεν επαρκεί αυτή τη στιγμή το φαγητό να φαΐσουμε. Άρα πρέπει να αντιμετωπίσουμε μια σειρά από θέματα και αντίστοιχα θα πρέπει μέσα και στην στρατηγική του Green Deal και της πράσινης ανάπτυξης να διαχειριστούμε και μια σειρά από άλλα θέματα, όπως είναι η εξοικονόμηση νερού. Και ένα από τα πιο, αν θέλετε, σύμφωνα με τα στοιχεία του ΟΗΕ, κοστοβόρα σε κατανάλωση νερού είναι και το κομμάτι της αγροτικής καλλιέργειας που χρησιμοποιεί το 70% της κατανάλωσης νερού, αλλά και ευθύνεται για το 30% των εκπομπών αερίου. Τώρα, το EIT Food Hub στην Ελλάδα, το οποίο εκπροσωπείται από τους industry disruptors, επί της ουσίας ανοίγει την πόρτα στις ελληνικές επιχειρήσεις, στα ελληνικά ερευνητικά ιδρύματα και πανεπιστήμια και τους δίνει τη δυνατότητα και να γνωρίσουν τα προγράμματα του EIT Food και να μπορέσουν να συμμετάσχουν στις δράσεις, όπως είναι μία από αυτή που κάνουμε σήμερα, και βεβαίως οι νεοφυείς επιχειρήσεις, τα startup, να συμμετέχουν στους διαγωνισμούς για να μπορέσουν να γνωρίσουν άλλες εταιρείες από την Ευρώπη, να δουν και να διαγωνιστούν πάνω στις νέες τις ιδέες τους και στις εφαρμογές τους και έτσι να, αν θέλετε, και να πάρουν ένα μικρό καύσιμο για να ξεκινήσουν ή να ενισχύσουν την προσπάθειά τους, αλλά πιο ουσιαστικά ακόμα να δικτυωθούν, να αντιληφθούν πώς δουλεύει αυτό το οικοσύστημα και μέσα από αυτό να επωφεληθεί όλη αυτή η αγροδιατροφική αλυσίδα.
agri-food sector will be reinforced. Mrs. Tangos, you referred to a better management of natural resources. So how important it is, this transformation of the agri-food sector, in order to be able to get a better management of our natural resources, which is, of course, of paramount importance for the actual production of crops and food. Well, dear colleagues, dear friends, we are in an excellent momentum, if I dare to say.
Όταν εμείς το 2010-2011 ξεκινούσαμε το Future Agro Challenge, αυτή την παγκόσμια πρωτοβουλία, που είναι μια ανατομής ελληνική πρωτοβουλία, που έχει ξεκινήσει από την Ελλάδα και έχει παρουσία σε 64 χώρες, ενισχύοντας αυτή την αλυσίδα αξίας στην αγροδιατροφή, ήταν κάτι το οποίο επί της ουσίας δεν ασχολείται κανείς. Τότε χτιζόταν το οικοσύστημα, τότε τα πρώτα startups είχαν μόνο πιο τεχνολογικό χαρακτήρα και το αγροδιατροφικό κομμάτι δεν ήταν ιδιαίτερα σεξι. Σήμερα είμαστε μπροστά σε μια νέα πραγματικότητα. Και ο ψηφιακός μετασχηματισμός που τον βιώνουμε και λόγω της πανδημίας, αλλά ούτως ή άλλως η τέταρτη βιομηχανική επανάσταση ήταν εδώ, αλλά και η νέα στρατηγική της Ευρωπαϊκής Επιτροπής από το χωράφι στο ράφι και το Green Deal δημιουργούν μια τεράστια δυναμική για αυτόν τον αναγκαίο μετασχηματισμό, για αυτή την μετάλλαξη και την ενίσχυση και μέσω της ψηφιοποίησης του, το smart farming, την επεξεργασία των big data και όλα αυτά που είναι απαραίτητα επί της ουσίας για να αλλάξει το μοντέλο της παραγωγικότητας και σε μια πιο όμως πράσινη λογική.
So, and as we're talking today about startups, I would like to know whether the Greek startup landscape has to offer some good examples of teams that have to offer some smart solutions for sustainable development.
Εδώ επίσης έχουμε τον πρώτο κύκλο ρήμανσης, κλείνει λίγο παραπάνω, κλείνει μια δεκαετία από τότε που το οικοσύστημα στην Ελλάδα έχει αρχίσει να δομείται. Και αυτό βοήθησαν τα Jeremy Fund, βοήθησε σίγουρα το Equity Fund και πλέον μιλάμε για ένα δεύτερο κύκλο οριμότητας. Ήδη στο κομμάτι όλης της αλυσίδας, αν θέλετε, της αγροδιατροφής, ξεκινώντας από τη διανομή και τα logistics, είδαμε μια πρώτη πολύ μεγάλη επιτυχία, το e-food. Βεβαίως δεν είναι στη λογική από το χωράφι στο ράφι, αλλά είναι στην ευρύτερη αλυσίδα. Όπως είδαμε και πριν από 10 μέρες το Instashop, που αλλάζει τον τρόπο παράδοσης καινοπών προϊόντων. Άρα έχουμε σίγουρα πολλά παραδείγματα. Έχουμε και ελληνικές εταιρείες όπως είναι η AgroApps, η Biomass, η SciGlobe. Είναι πολλές εταιρείες και εταιρείες που έχουμε και μαζί μας σήμερα, οι οποίες αρχίζουν να παράγουν απτά αποτελέσματα και να δημιουργούν υπεραξία στην αλυσίδα. Επίσης, είναι πολύ σημαντικό που έχουμε τον κύριο Κυριαζή μαζί μας, που πλέον κάτω από την ομπρέλα του ανάπτυξης έρχεται πιο κοντά η πολύ δυνατή ερευνητική κοινότητα που έχουμε στη λογική του να συνδεθεί με τις επιχειρήσεις και να κεφαλαιοποιηθεί όλο αυτό το ερευνητικό έργο που γίνεται και μέσα από τους ορίζοντες και μέσα από το ερευνητικό και να παράξει πλέον για την αλυσίδα να φτάσει κάτω αξία μέσα από την καινοτομία αυτή που βλέπουμε στα ερευνητικά ιδρύματα. Θεωρώ ότι μπαίνουμε σε μια δεύτερη φάση οριμότητας. Τα επόμενα χρόνια υπάρχουν πάρα πολλά χρηματοδοτικά εργαλεία και επενδυτικά εργαλεία και θα μπουν πολλά λεφτά σε funds για να ενισχυθεί αυτή η αλυσίδα νέων εταιριών. Και αυτό είναι μια μεγάλη ευκαιρία και για τους αγρότες μας να μπορέσουμε να την εκμεταλλευτούν και να δημιουργήσουμε μια νέα γενιά αγροτών επιχειρηματιών, οι οποίοι όμως θα αγκαλιάσουν τις νέες αυτές εταιρείες, θα συμπράξουν και έτσι θα μπορέσουν να μεγαλώσουν και να γίνουν ανταγωνιστικές. Καλή επιτυχία στα παιδιά.
Oh, sorry, good luck. So the speaker forgot to say. Ms. Alvira Domingo is the coordinator of the program for European Innovation Technology Skill.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much, and thank you to our partners in Greece and as industry disruptors and Athena to make this project happen and to give this opportunity to startups all across the south of Europe. Well, in 2015...
Miss Elvira?
Hi.
Hi. We are now on the air. Okay, the floor is yours. Can you start from the beginning?
Yes, sure. Hello, everyone, and thank you very much to our partners, Industry Disruptors and Athena in Greece, to making this project happen and giving this opportunity to startups and entrepreneurs all across the south of Europe and making innovation happening in the end. In 2050, it is predicted that 50% of the population will suffer of water scarcity conditions. This on its own gives a reason to this project to exist. In EIT, as a long-term initiative, pan-European initiative, we are very much focused on those societal challenges that are affecting the citizens across Europe. For this, we have established 8 communities at the moment, and we will keep growing in the future to transform, to help startups, entrepreneurs, and innovators transforming their ideas into businesses. EIT was designed as a unique innovation instrument. The reason why it was needed is because in some cases, a lot of the initiatives and the research that was made in Europe was never transformed into real solutions. In some cases, due to the lack of linkages between research, education, and businesses. So one of the first things that we did in EIT was establishing these connections. At the moment, we have more than 1,000 partners between education, higher education institutions, research centers, businesses, and also citizens and NGOs. And they are all working together to transform in particular, the agri-food system. In the case of water, up until now, there was no any initiative run from EIT. In this case, of course, as I said in the beginning, we have plenty of reasons to start this program. One of them societal, but of course, environmental and economical challenges are one of the reasons for this program to exist. But we also need innovation and entrepreneurship to boost the technological change needed, and also societal innovation needed in this sector. So for this reason, we put together 4 kicks: manufacturing, raw materials, climate kick, and EIT food, of course, and together with Bioazul and Athena, we set a program which our first objectives were enhancing knowledge. So we set a group of 16 of the best experts around the water sector in Europe. We also strengthened the local innovation. We have looked for 30 startups, some of the best startups around the south of Europe working on this program. Of course, we are working with the citizens and with the outreach campaigns to make this change also possible with the society. Otherwise, all the innovation will not get anywhere. So, as I was saying, the body of knowledge has defined 6 different challenges. They have enlarged the network of partners working around the water scarcity challenge. 30 startups got together at the end of June. They were selected based on the innovations that they were addressing. And after matchmaking with some of our partners and also external companies to EIT, they have been following a mentoring process for 3 months. And finally, we will have the 3 competitions, the first starting today in Greece, and the next one will be in Spain and Italy, through which they will be able to have a prize of 10,000 and 5,000 euros, as it was mentioned before. But the program is not ending here. We will have a water academy after these competitions, with which we want to bring the potential innovations, the solutions, the latest knowledge to a wider number of stakeholders who will be in the end able to use them and to use this knowledge and share it to again contribute to the transformation that is needed. The program will not finish here. The next year, 2021, the program will grow and it will be enlarged in the number of countries as well and the number of participants. There will be plenty of opportunities for the group of experts, again, for the startups and SMEs and scale-ups working on water scarcity. And again, the Water Academy will keep working to make the changes needed. We will be very, very much focused on the 6 challenges defined by the group of experts. And again, setting all the work around the policy changes that are also needed, the innovation and the education. Again, water is a human right, and it's a challenge that is not anymore something far away. We have it here already, and we do need to work to transform this into an opportunity more than a challenge. Thank you.
Τώρα με ακούτε, θα περάσω στο πρώτο πάνελ συζήτηση.
Now we shall continue with the first panel discussion panel. We'll talk about the water management in the urban areas. We expect Mr. Papasteriou to log on. In the meantime, I would like to present the panelists. Along with me is Ms. Konstantina Stavroulia, Director of the Hellenic Company of Water Management, Mr. Stella Tsani, Professor at the Department of Financial Studies at the University of Ioannina, as well as Mr. Dimitris Papasteriou, Mayor of Trikala and President of the Central Union of Municipalities of Greece. But let us start with Ms. Tsani. So we understand that what do you believe that the digital transformation, Ms. Stavroulia, will actually help in better managing water resources in urban areas? First of all, thank you for the invitation, for this great event you've been organizing this afternoon. Now, as far as the digital transformation, allow me to say that this is a tool for urban water management systems. Let us also forget that what we use in terms of infrastructure is the technologies of smartphones, is data analysis, smart grid and smart networks, and of course monitoring a water system is something really difficult to understand, to work for. So we have new IT systems in order to support this great and difficult task, which is managing water resources. So I guess that we see that these issues sometimes work independently and has as a consequence to have a greater issue of problems, but we cannot manage all this data. So this is what happens in any given company. In other words, a huge amount of data that we cannot elaborate and analyze sometimes. So the digital transformation is here to support the water management grids via smart algorithms, via new platforms and applications, which aim at having the best possible management and utilization of productivity and efficiency in water resources and water grids. And so we have some applications in ADAP, the water management system, which of course is here we're dealing with applications related to the modernization of the existing systems that we use in order to be able to collaborate, let's say, different data we have the new smart platforms of integrating data related to customers, clients, in order to be able to better introduce this data and manage them in a holistic way. We have the development of a new platform that we're able to corroborate data via some smart algorithms and extract some outcomes, which is an important tool for decision making. Last but not least, I would like to say that the digital transformation in the water systems is a difficult and long, let's say, road, but through the practices that are used in various companies abroad and from other water management public and private companies, we see that there are tangible results that will help us all resolve these problems in the near future and will be an added value to our customers. Now, Ms. Tsani, we're talking about cyclical economy. Cyclical economy, which is a new economic model that is under discussion. I believe also Mr. Kiaziz referred to it earlier. So how the, let's say, practices of this model can be applied in urban waters. So let us try to better understand what is cyclical economy and what is this model. So we're actually dealing with a transformation from a dynamic model of production and consumption, as we know up to now, which, let's say, can be used with three words, which is produce, consume, waste, towards a more closed cyclical model, where we have issues like reuse, recycle, utilization of resources. So if we understand the value of water for our own existence and for more business activities, we need to understand how important it is to use such smart solutions. And if we see what studies suggest, we understand that if we continue implementing the same model as the ones we have today, by 2030, the resources won't be able to cover more than 40 or 50% of the actual water needs globally. So we need to introduce this new cyclical model of economy. And of course, let's forget that the majority of our people need to implement this model. So through the existing technology and the existing infrastructure, two very simple, I dare to say, words we should bear in mind. Whether we're talking about households, we're talking about industries, businesses, companies, or public companies. So initially, we need to have a better management of waters and, of course, and the reuse of waters. So if we truly wish to have a more dynamic approach of this cyclical economical model, we need to invest in infrastructures and we need to adopt new technologies. So we have already some mature technology that can be implemented. And as we will see in a few moments through the presentation of the startups, that there are some additional new ideas that come to mind and, let's say, can be included in this great pool of new technologies that are available in order to be able to implement this new model. So I guess the answer is better use of resources, better management of resources, reuse, invest in new technologies, and of course, we invest in our grids and in our networks. Now, Ms. Stavroulia, so we know that there is a great issue of leakage within all public water management infrastructures. So we know what happens with the water distribution networks that have issues. We have various leakages at various points of the network. So how technology can help, let's say, minimize the leakages. So minimizing or decreasing leakages in the water distribution network, or the so-called non-efficient waters, is a strategic priority for every public water management company, and private, of course. So we all understand how beneficial a better water management and water distribution network would actually be. In other words, if we manage to resolve issues related to leakage, we will be able to have a better water management. And at the same time, we'll have a greater input and, of course, less cost for the management of the actual water distribution network. In other words, there are two pillars for this objective. The first one is the decrease of the erroneous calculation of water, which has to do with how the system works. And the second pillar is a decrease of the actual leakage. Now, as far as technology is concerned and how we can evaluate and utilize the technology, that's something that we already do at the best possible way, is the subcalculation. There is a greater project of changing the calculators of water consumption, which are quite old, in order to have a better calculation of consumption at every point and understand where we might have, let's say, some problems or some leakages, and the actual, let's say, decrease of leakages that are related to problems in the actual water distribution network that we can hopefully minimize in 4 different parts, where, in other words, technology can be used. So we have initially management, monitoring, control of the pressure in the water distribution network. So the lesser the pressure, the lesser the leakage in the actual network. And of course, pipes are alleviated and do not, let's say, suffer from these pressures. We also need to use some special equipment and technologies towards this objective. We also need to better service of our water distribution network. So at this point, we managed to have some electronic data of our own systems via GIS systems. We have a platform for noting down, let's say, all problems. So via different models, we can see the GIS problems. We also have some fixed infrastructure that helps us via various platforms of servicing of these infrastructures, and telemetrics and telemonitoring or e-monitoring in our pools via SCADA. So all of these technologies is important, is actually of paramount importance if we want to have true smart networks and smart grids. Yes, and we will have a great outcome in our resources and what we offer to our people, to our customers, in other words. Okay, now let me go back to Ms. Tsani. Ms. Tsani, behind this digital transformation, the smart management, and the infrastructure in water resources, what is the actual cost of implementing technological solutions for the sustainability of water resources? And who is actually going to, let's say, cover this actual cost? Are we talking about the state? Are we talking about consumers? Are we talking about private investment or investment from behalf of the European Union? Well, allow me to say that the cost is similar to what we actually understand and what we need to develop. Now, as far as water is concerned, this actual cost, this is something different because we're dealing with a natural resource. So leaving aside the actual use, actual benefit from the actual management and its actual consumption, we understand that this sometimes goes beyond what is called private cost. So as far as water is concerned, we understand that the water management companies need to cover these financial costs related to the management of, let's say, technological update. But allow me to say that here we're dealing with a public need to cover water needs. So we need to understand that we're dealing with a precious commodity, a precious public commodity that needs to be protected. So indeed, we need to identify which is the private benefit and the private cost each time from each of these innovations, each of these technologies and technological innovations that is to be embraced. But we should also see what are, let's say, the social benefits and social cost, and these to be incorporated in the actual market. So sometimes this social dimension is not well depicted. So at the political side, this has been identified at the EU level, and they have managed to incorporate, and they understand this incapacity to better understand the social cost. So we're dealing and we're talking about the need to understand these environmental costs and how this can be incorporated, and the benefits, of course, because when we talk about cost, we have an additional issue. So when we're talking about pollution, we need to implement the actual, let's say, rationale, which is the one who pollutes is the one who pays. So we do have the technological infrastructure that will be able to help us understand who is responsible of polluting and then pay for this actual pollution. So indeed, consumer cannot face any more additional, let's say, cost, but we will see in the future whether we need some other infrastructures or, let's say, I don't know, some new CSF and some new EU money that will help us towards this direction. Yes, indeed, but if, of course, we cannot manage to incorporate the cost and the benefit related to the society at large. Thank you very much, both of you, for this discussion. I believe I managed to cover some of the questions. I'd like to thank the participants. And I guess it's the most important. And let's see the people who participate in the event. But let me explain the whole. We will see a video pitching of 4 minutes, and at the end of the video, we'll have one of the judges who will ask a question to the representative of the team. Now, our judges will vote during the process and at the end of the presentations and during the second panel discussion that we will host. And we will see how these startups were graded in order to see who are the 2 winners. Now, before going to Danai Bournou, I would like to present our judges. We have Mr. Jason Manolopoulos, member of the Outlier Ventures based in London, Mrs. Phoebe Koudouri, professor at the University of Athens and president of the Scientific Union of Economists of Environment, and Mr. Agis Papadopoulos, president CEO of the Thessaloniki Water Management Company. So I'll start with Danai Bournou, community manager of Industry Disruptors.
Thank you, Pedra.
Danai, the floor is yours.
From my side, I want to welcome you as well here. And I'm in the position that I cannot describe how excited I am about being here today. Me personally, I know that the teams, after coordinating them for some time, they have worked really hard to be here today, present to you and to our judges their innovative ideas about addressing on how to solve water scarcity issues. I want to wish them good luck, and I think it's time now for the content to begin. Okay, now let's bring on airbots.
Good evening, everyone. Agricultural production today is costly, inefficient, poisons foods, and permanently destroys farm soils. EU, UN, FAO experts warn that by 2050, we will strive to feed the world's rising population. Producers waste up to 65% on agrochemicals, 40% on water, and yield 20% less than optimal. Agriculture is data blind, throwing in agrochemicals, water, and machinery whenever just in doubt. Transition to data-driven smart farming is still challenging to farmers. Excessive irrigation washes away surplus fertilizers and unnecessarily applied pesticides from soils and drives them into the underground water reserves, irreversibly contaminating them. This affects the agricultural communities and the produce, which when consumed by humans ends up slowly poisoning them. We provide holistic agriculture 4.0 as a service and irrigation control by using IoT actuators, drones, and sensors. We also collect and incorporate meteorological data, satellite imagery, and weather models to greatly reduce irrigation wastage. The agricultural market size is driven by population rise and a transition towards organic farming at a rate of 17%. That's $1 trillion in 5 years for organic and 3.5 trillion for total for food. Agri-tech CAGR is estimated to 18%, totaling 50 billions by then. But no one wants to be left behind, so agriculture will transition entirely to 4.0. Our beachhead market is wine and olive oil producers and high-value orchards in Europe as part of a wider 27 billion organic market and 188 billion total agricultural market. Target customers have 20-plus hectare large farms of high-value crops. We provide important insights on optimal crop management, disease control, irrigation, fertilization, and harvesting. We help overcome climate change issues and increase food safety. We help preserve energy, soil, groundwater, and biodiversity. Farmers minimize use of costly pesticides, fertilizers, water, energy, and increase the quantity and quality of harvest yield in line with EU's Common Agricultural Policy, FAO's Good Agricultural Practice, and UN's Sustainable Development Goals. Innovations stems from optimal agriculture 4.0 implementation made possible by a dedicated 6-strong team of solution domain experts in the field of engineering, robotics, AI, cloud, IoT, and big data, working in close collaboration with problem domain experts in the field of agronomy, environmental science, toxicology, and biology. Business innovation consists in offering the system as a complete hardware as a service solution. I therefore asked 940,000 for 2 years to secure a gifted system analyst and software architect, 2 highly skilled electronics engineers, an aggressive business development manager and marketing strategist, an agronomist and agricultural engineer, a land surveyor engineer, and a GIS and satellite imagery expert, plus in-field staff and equipment as necessary, while I remained as chief engineer. Together, we will offer complete commercial services and expand to 5 national markets and at the 2 years mark before going global. Full services cost 20,000 per 40 hectare farm, besides setup fees with possible markup of around 40%. There are some emerging startups with parts of our solution as a product, but we offer a holistic solution, a permanent single point of contact for the customer, and we stay in continuous relationship with them using remote human and virtual means. Thank you for your attention.
Hello. So should we find?
Hello. Hello, Airbots. We're pleased to have you here with us.
Great. Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Perfect. Now it's time for our first jury, Ms. Kuduri, to raise a question to Airbots team.
Hello. It is indeed an exciting innovation that you are proposing. I really find it extremely interesting that at last innovators and technology providers are providing holistic solutions and solutions that are going to be a permanent guidance for the practitioner in the field, for the farmer in the field. And indeed, what you're providing is holistic, including toxicology, ecosystems, pesticides, fertilizers, use of water, and so on. What I don't find there, which I think is crucial for any advice, and it's a defining factor for any decision at farm level, is the economics of the decision. That is, each and every discipline that you bring together comes in with cost and benefits that translate into monetary cost and benefits. And if the monetary cost and benefits are such that can provide a sustainable pathway for the finances of the farmer, he will decide to proceed. Otherwise, he will not. So I cannot imagine a constant guidance without the cost-benefit analysis for each and every decision at each and every point in time.
Okay. So what happens is that we plan to automate all this process. So we use the expertise of its field, and especially agronomists. So this brings down the cost, and also the farmers, they know themselves that if they reduce the agricultural inputs, they reduce the price per kilo of the final product. That's the only number that they care about, how much they pay for each kilo they produced. So to farmers, it's quite clear that if you reduce the inputs and you have more output, it brings down their price, so it increases their profit. And
but if you're trying, sorry for interrupting you, but if you're trying for a holistic solution and you are bringing in ecosystems, you are bringing in the short and long run effects, not only with regards to input outputs in a very narrow-minded thing, but also the effects of on the ecosystem and the potential future fertility of the land and the future availability of aquifer water below the land and all that, then you need a way to communicate to the farmer that all these are costs and benefits that are important for the sustainability of his business, not just in the long run or medium run, but also now. So I think your work is amazing. It's really important. And I love the holistic nature of it. But I think that you need to invest in an economic layer that comes in to translate all the effects that are not explicit in terms of input and output prices, that allows a holistic translation of the monetary situation, of the financial situation of the company.
I understand. So besides being measurable, I have to also educate the users for the real impact. To tell you the truth, my ultimate target, my ultimate goal is to provide this as infrastructure, ultimately, to cover everyone if possible.
Mm-hmm.
And at that level, this will be viable.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for the answer. Unfortunately, we have a limited time. I wish we could elaborate more. Now we have to move to our next theme, our next participation, urban food.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Marius Georgiou, and on behalf of the Urban Food team, I would like to welcome you to this short but hopefully really interesting journey. Currently, about 30% of water use in Europe goes to the agricultural sector, and it's expected that the climate change will add additional pressure on the water availability. In order to overcome this increasing water demand, our idea relies on the implementation of zero-impact greenhouses to the urban food chain. The main challenge that we want to address is to have a 12-month operative greenhouses with zero footprint in the Mediterranean region. Currently, worldwide, there are about 500,000 hectares of greenhouses installed. and 1/3 of those are in Europe. 30% of those have permanent structure, and all of them use fossil fuel in order to cover their heating and cooling demands. Additionally, the existing greenhouses have high risk of crop fungal diseases. In Mediterranean region and other areas where there are extremely high temperatures in summer and high humidity levels, the greenhouses are limited to a 9-month operation, even though it's expected to have higher demand of food in this summer period due to tourism. The urban food solution that we're proposing has to do with the implementation of sustainable greenhouses with less energy demand and less environmental impact. This will be achieved through the smart energy water management system, fully automation, through the monitor of the plant comfort, and the specific design of modular design of greenhouses. The integration of these 4 pillars will lead into hydroponic, robotized, zero carbon, zero disease, fully urban integrated system. In order to achieve those, we have gathered experts from several fields that they have been divided into 3 groups. We have the product development sector, the product validation, and the market and business development. Particularly in the product development, we have experts with different backgrounds and expertise in energy system, sustainable water treatment, optimization, controls, robotics, and sensors. In the product validation, we have experts with years of experience in farming, hydroponics, greenhouse management, and links with the Greenhouse Farmers Association. Lastly, in our market and business development, we have innovation manager, expert in new venture development. What's the expected impact of our KPIs? We want to achieve a 12-month intensive farming period, to have 30% reduction in water and fertilizer consumption, 57% water reduction compared to the conventional greenhouses. We want to have 30% increase of the annual yield, no quality loss in crop, and have 4 times of food production per square meter compared to the existing greenhouses. Our go-to-market strategy has to do with the co-design with the food supply chain of a minimum viable product. We have already engaged farmers, greenhouse and equipment companies, food retailers and processors in the phase of the MVP design. Lastly, about our action plan and milestones, we have set a 12-month period horizon with which we're going to achieve specific objectives. Those objectives are dealing with the IPR protection, validation in 4 sites, market analysis and business plan, establishment of pre-commercial pilots, and exploration of agreement. In order to achieve those, we have already applied for 3 funding schemes through the European Pre-Seed, the IIT, and the CYI Internal Innovation Fund. Thank you for your attention, and thank you for giving us this opportunity.
Hello, Urban Food. Welcome with us.
Hello. Hello.
Okay, and thank you, Mr. Malonolopoulos. Thank you for the presentation. Now we will have to move on to our judge, Mr. Malonolopoulos, to hear his question to you.
Well, thank you very much for the presentation. Those goals and yield enhancements and water reductions you've set out are admirable and will have a huge impact when achieved. I'd like to, if you could go a bit more depth about what is your go-to-market strategy and how does it link to your monetization strategy? Because from what I understand is you're trying to co-design new greenhouse, let's call workflows. There are lots of people that construct greenhouses now, and it's a huge business. Each region has its own peculiarities, like Holland is a different market than south of Spain and Greece, so on and so forth. So what is your go-to-market strategy? What can you offer to these big companies? And how will you monetize? Will you monetize on a design basis or actually selling yourselves? Yeah, that's my question.
Yeah, I will answer to this question. Thank you because it's very specific. We will start with Cyprus. So we have already connection with the greenhouse manufacturers here through the Agricultural Research Institute that is partner of the project. And we will co-design with them in order to apply the innovation into their frames, so that we don't want to make metal frameworks. We want that these companies go on with the fabrication of the infrastructure. and then licensing the innovation to them. So this will be, let's say, the tech part integrated into the structural part in a cooperation with these companies that usually are serving, let's say, a local regional market. So this will be done then again in Italy. I'm coming from there, and from a region where most of the greenhouse infrastructure is installed, that's Sicily. And this could be the same with Spain. So the idea is to have, let's say, agreements with vertical manufacturers in each market getting the license of the technological package that will be mostly software, control, and automation in the greenhouse.
Thank you for that. If I can follow up on, let's say, 100 hectares greenhouse, what will be your P&L, your euro or dollar P&L? So how does it flow through to you?
You mean in terms of cost per square meter of the greenhouse, which is the target cost we want to reach?
The cost, not the cost of the project, but for what your P&L will be per hectare, let's call it.
Can you just elaborate what you mean with P&L?
How much euros will you charge per hectare of design?
Okay, so it's not the final price, but the price we will charge on top of this. This will be around 30% of the value of the greenhouse that we estimate today here in Cyprus is around 100 euros per square meter. So you have per hectare, you have around 1 million. And our component will be about 30%.
Understood. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your answers. I have to note again that please your answers should not exceed the 2 minutes because we have time limitations. Now we'll pass to our next participation, which is Aquacorp.
Hi, everyone. I was born in a tiny village in the northwest of Spain. 40 years ago, we had one of the most beautiful rivers in the world, the Luna River. We used to swim there, even we used to drink its waters. Sadly, right now it would be impossible. Why? Pollution. The 8th World Water Forum at Brasilia noted one of the main water challenges is decreasing the water pollution. By the way, I'm Pablo Perez, CEO and founder at Aquacorp, and we have a solution to decrease this water pollution. A deep tech platform to water monitoring without water contact, just a camera, using water pictures to know water parameters. Our innovative platform is based on deep tech because it combines 3 different disciplines: IoT to collect water data, biology to create the first scientific correlational model among optical, biological, and physicochemical water parameters, and computer vision and deep learning algorithms to alert and prevent. We get water parameters such as COD, VOD, suspended solids, or ammonia using water images. To better understand our customers, we visited 50 wastewater treatment plants and the 10 Spanish water agencies. We have a working prototype running at 5 of them, and they are validating our technology right now. We are in the middle of a 24-month training project and will be ready to go live by the next summer on 2021. As you know, water pollution is one of the main threats to the availability of water, and effluents are the spots where wastewater treatment plants deposit their results. With a proper monitoring tool, water utilities are going to improve their effectiveness, increasing 30% the water quality they are discharging, and their efficiency, reducing 10% of their CO2 emissions. Our main customers are water agencies and water utilities. They perfectly know current solutions are too costly, manual and offline. Visiting them, we found out that new stringent directives are coming and they request individual and continuous monitoring. We sell this real-time water data and alerts to water utilities and water agencies at a price of 5,000 euros yearly, a pure data as a service business model. Starting from water agencies, in the next 5 years, we are going to reach 1,000 sampling points and 100 water utilities around the EU. And we expect on year 5, 7.5 million euros profit margin. For customers, we are giving them a platform that is cheaper and easy to use, just a camera, a platform to monitor, alert, and prevent water parameters through water images. without direct contact with water. Current solutions are taking manual samples through laboratories or using physicochemical sensors. Both are too costly. They require direct contact with water. This high cost is the main reason because 99% of effluents, 99% has no continuous monitoring. Financially speaking, our stream revenues key drivers are market share, the number of spots to monitor per utility, and the sales cost. And our main costs are platform development and platform maintenance. Our total available market is worldwide and is more than 1 billion effluents, which means 2 trillion euros roughly. If we narrow down and look at the most important EU effluents, there are more than 50,000, which represent almost 1 billion euros. And then if we focus on the highest risky effluents in the EU, there are 5,000 approximately. This is our target market, 20 million euros and nearly 100 potential customers. To do this, we have an inspiring team of Enrique, who is excellent with business and numbers, Jorge, who is expert in water and science, Maria Luisa, an AI ambassador, and myself, who is very, very good at dreaming and are result-oriented for sure. More than 100 years of experience together. Thank you very much, and I'm ready for...
Hello, Aquacorp. We want to welcome you on board. And welcome, Mr. Papadopoulos. Now it's the time that you can set your answer to the team.
Yep, I'll set the question. So thank you much. It was a very interesting presentation. I enjoyed it a lot, I have to say. I got two questions. The question number one, you assess the market mainly by targeting the utilities, or rather the companies running the water refineries, correct?
Yep.
Now, especially when you have this lovely situation, when you have along a river 5 refineries, each one every 50 kilometers, like it is in the Rhine or any other river in Central Europe. There are associations that are regional authorities where all those refineries are in reality acting as one. How do you plan to address potential customers?
Thank you very much for your question. And what we are doing is using the water agencies, which are the responsible for enforcing the law in each basin you are monitoring. Okay, they are enforcing the law, authorizing each one of the wastewater treatment plants around the EU. When you need a wastewater treatment plant, you need to go to the water utility and apply for the authorization. And these authorizations are public. These data are public, and you know perfectly how many wastewater treatment plants are authorized. And what we are doing is using the first step in the water agencies to know perfectly which are the main wastewater treatment plant, depending of the volume.
Okay. I'm afraid that you have to stick to only one question, because I told you have these time limitations. Thank you very much for your answer.
I'll leave it here. Thank you. Yep.
Okay. Thank you very much. We have, unfortunately, to move on, or fortunately, to our next participation, which is Develiot.
Hello, I'm Miroslav. I'm CEO and co-founder at Develiot. Nowadays, we are observing 3 intersecting trends that are going to have a huge impact on us in this decade. Increasing water demand, increasing water scarcity due to climate change, and huge water losses. A perfect storm is forming where we have less water, we need more, and we lose huge amounts of it. This results in high to extremely high water stress in our region, or our continent, and the world. And that's not all. Water utilities have to ensure water supplies to our cities, yet they have no visibility on water loss in the supply system, nor on water consumption or consumption trends. For the majority of the water utilities today, their water supply system is a black box. They don't have data, and no data equals no action, and no action equals water stress. We're changing that. For water utilities that wants to adapt to water stress, we developed the water management system, an end-to-end big data solution empowering water utilities to track water consumption, improve operational efficiency, detect and quantify water losses, pinpoint the rehabilitation activities with highest return, and make data-driven decisions on conserving water. And why is this end-to-end? Because we don't just look at building the platform into data analytics, but also on how to gather the data. We developed our own data sensing devices that enable us to ensure high data quality and lower total cost of ownership. And this control enables our solution to provide 3 times more data points per euro invested, can be managed entirely by the water utility, and comes with a return on investment of 2 to 4 years. We've started deploying this since August with several customers. This, for example, is a water utility whose aim is to detect water losses, figure out how much of these are water theft, and track water consumption completely remotely. And this is what they see. On the main dashboard, they can quickly check how much water was consumed, billed, and lost in this district metering area. The losses are easily visualized on a pie chart, and in this project early on, they found an unmetered consumer who they started metering. They can also easily check the consumption profile of each consumer for abnormalities, and the system provides powerful tools for alarming, device management, and analysis. But what pays for the system is the reporting. There, the water utility can easily gather the consumption of each user at the end of their billing cycle and put it directly into their billing software. No more black boxes, but data-driven decision-making. And the market is growing. The IoT and utility market is expected to hit 44 billion euro by 2025 on a 13% cumulative annual growth rate. The water infrastructure investments are also on the rise and are expected to hit 5.7 trillion euro in 2030. These correlate well with the megatrends we are observing around water conservation activities, regulations, and digitalization of water utilities. And our water management system is the first step for the water utilities to adapt to water stress while digitalizing. For rapid growth, we are entering the market through partners that have already established good relationships with water utilities there. These are typically water infrastructure engineering companies, water system integrators, and telecoms. The journey today started in the beginning of 2019 with 4 of us. We are people with background in water, IoT, hardware, and software development. Today, we are a team of 9 plus 4 external advisors in the areas of water infrastructure engineering, hydraulic modeling, and data analytics. All this in order to make sure the black box becomes a transparent box, where data-driven decisions by water utilities are ensuring water for all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Develiot. We're very happy to have you here with us.
Hello. Pleasure to be here.
Okay. Now you have also Ms. Koudouri. I have to remind you, please, we have 1 question and 2 minutes short answer. Okay? You can send your answer to Develiot.
Okay, first of all, congratulations. What you are doing is crucial and timely, especially because half of the population of the world will live in urban areas. So our urban water systems need to be efficient, data-driven, and sustainable. Now, I'm trying to understand how do you integrate with technological advancements. As far as I see what you're doing, in order for your data input to increase, we need these sensors, an increase in the sensors that will give you the data, among other things, but also a huge increase in the sensors that will give you the data that you're going to analyze. Now, the positioning of these sensors is a critical decision, and the cost of these sensors is a critical decision. How are you integrating this into your product? Because, you know, a water system, a utility might not have an efficient control system manager for short run and long run in order to cleverly identify the positioning of the sensors. And also, are you using any artificial intelligence, machine learning in order to cleverly navigate through all this data. Explainable machine learning, I think, would be very interesting in your application. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. These are all great questions. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You have to know where you're going to put the sensors in order to have good data. In most of the cases, water utilities are well aware of their DMA zones, district metering areas, so they know where to put it. If not, we actually work a lot with engineering companies, water infrastructure engineering companies that are helping us with that. But the easiest case is to cover the district water metering area where you manage the where you track the main water meter and all the consumers. And when we started this, we were also thinking, okay, who's going to pay for this? And it's the water utility. But the good thing is that the return of investment is very high because we're using the same device, one device to track both water losses and to be used to track how much each end user is consuming. So basically, the remote consumption, without having a person to go physically there to check a water meter, is paying off for the system. And if 5 or 10 years ago, this was
sorry, we have now to move to our next participation. I'm sorry for the interruption, really, but again, I think we have time.
Yeah. So basically, pays for itself. And just to give you a next step for artificial intelligence, this is the pipeline. It's next thing we're doing. Can trust me.
But this is not fair for the rest of the others because I have interrupted them. We have to move on to the next participation.
All right, in the chat. Thanks.
Okay. Our next participation is Matrix and Miss Hara. We are very happy to have her here.
Is the water really sufficient in all cases, or there is no good management for the available water? These pictures are taken from a small lake near the village I was born. 300 farmers share this water. Sometimes in the middle of the summer, there is no water left. Where the water is insufficient and farmers share the water within a community, often complain that some others are using too much water, irrigate more often than others. There is no transparency and the pricing is the same regardless of the quantity they used. Smart Water is a software solution for real-time water management within a community. There is a mobile part and a web part. The mobile part can be used for outdoor everyday use, while the web part can be used for data processing, planning, and statistics. First in, first out method is used for water demand, and FAO method is used for calculation of the required amount of water for new irrigation processes. Our business model is the subscription model. We plan to sell direct to the irrigator communities and indirect via other market channels. We found that irrigator communities will pay less for the use of our solution than the traditional cost of the water management. We already invested for the development and the pilot of the product until now. Now the product is ready for the market. We plan to sell in Greece in the next year and in Europe the other years. There is a gap in the water management solutions. There are many solutions for infrastructure maintenance, network planning, billing, and of course, farm management. many farmers use water within a community. We target at these communities. The application can be used with no sensors, and of course, sensors can be added. I am Hara Koutalu, the founder. Vasilis is a technology advisor. Stavroula is a water resource management advisor. Stefanos is for legal issues, and Dimitris is for economics. We need marketing and sales personnel at this time. Winning the prize, we will use the money for my marketing and sales personnel. Thank you.
Thank you, Matrix, and welcome with us. Now, Mr. Manolopoulos, our judge, will address you his question.
Well, thank you very much for the presentation. It's very interesting how you're trying to solve a problem of the commons with your startup. My question is, how much will you charge per irrigation community? And in your business model, how long is your sales process? Is it 6 months, 3 months, 2 years? What is a conversion cycle selling to these irrigation communities?
Thank you for the questions. We have already a scalable pricing model. Of course, this is on the paper. We start the sales. We will start the sales this year for the next irrigation season. So there will be a scalable pricing depending on the acres every community irrigates. The sales process is not a linear process. That means that we will not sell our product for a few months and then it's okay. We plan to make some new to add some new processes, to add new technologies, to add more utilities into this product. This is the first version. Of course, it can be used. It's ready for use.
Thank you very much. I wish you best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matrix, and thank you, Mr. Manolopoulos. Be patient, our content is reaching to the end. We have 2 more participations. So our next team is Scubic.
Hello, everyone. My name is Bruno Abreu. I'm the CEO, co-founder of Scubic, where we develop smart systems for water utilities. Nowadays, water utilities worldwide have installed thousands of sensors to know what is happening in real time on all the assets that compose a water network. However, despite the huge amount of information that they have, water utilities worldwide still spend over 14 billion euros on energy costs and more than 40 billion euros as non-revenue water. With Scubic, a real-time demand-side management solutions for the smart operations of water utilities, we will reduce this cost up to 15%, reduce the carbon emissions, but most importantly, increase the operational efficiency of our water networks. But how do we do this? Scubic connects with our clients' database and SCADA systems, and we build a digital twin for the entire water network. After this, we compute this with our artificial intelligence algorithms so we can predict the energy and the water demand in real time and compile this with the energy price variation that we have on a daily basis to calculate the least cost operation for that day, and then send it back to the SCADA systems to control the pumps and the valves. Till now, we have installed Scubic in 3 different water utilities, and we are getting reductions between 5 and 18% on their energy costs. And we are not alone on the market, but our most advanced artificial intelligence algorithms, compared with pattern-based algorithms, can do better predictions than our direct competition. Also, our fast installation allow us to have a very competitive price. And of course, we are getting reductions higher than 15%, which is much more than our direct competition. And of course, it's not going to be for free. And our clients will pay us 0.49 cents per cubic meter of pump water, plus 25% of what we save on the first year. And just to show some financial projections, by 23-24, we will have sales higher than 7 million euros with an EBITDA higher than 5 million euros. Until now, we have raised 235,000 euros that we spend on R&D and on product development, and we are seeking for 1.2 million euros to consolidate the Portuguese market, but most importantly, to go international. The amazing team that is developing this is composed by me, which have a PhD on energy system. Gilles has also a PhD on mechanical engineer and worked with optimization algorithm for the last 10 years. Miguel and Ana used to be 2 energy managers in 2 different water utilities, and of course, our data scientists and our developers to put everything working. Just to wrap up, as you've seen with Scubic, our clients will have a high return on investment. It has a low risk because we only need access to data, but what is really important is that we will increase the security of our water networks and our water source, and increase the sustainability and reduce the carbon footprint for the water utilities. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Scubic, and my greetings to Portugal from Greece. It's time now for the question of our judge. Mr. Papadopoulos will give his question to Scubic.
Yes, thank you very much for the presentation. I really liked it. Also touches upon a point that is very sensitive. I mean, I have the honor to chair a company. We estimate that we have something close between 35 and 38% in the non-revenue water, so it's an issue. My question is the following. Your system seems very promising, but it presupposes that you have a water distribution system of a certain technological level where you can close the loop. If you don't have demand managed areas, it will not work. So unless, because providing the feedback from the data from the SCADA of the system is fine, but if you cannot control, for example, the flow rate in certain loops of the branches of the distribution grid, by itself will not help in achieving such high energy savings. How many of the, let's say, above 500,000 population cities in Europe do you believe that are that have modernized water control systems that would suit without any further investment to your system, so that you can directly approach them? Because otherwise, if you ask me to carry out a 10 million investment before I can utilize your system, you'll have to wait a bit, if you can get what I mean.
Thank you for your question. Yeah, of course. I don't know the right number of the 400 cities that we have in Europe. But again, more than 50% already have installed the sensors and the meters, because they have to report to environmental agencies every year about the KPIs and how much they are achieving. So I can say more than 50% of water utilities around Europe, at least, have installed all the sensors and all the data that we need to work with our systems. More than this, we have surveyed the Spain market, the Portuguese market, and the UK.
And read your last sentence of your answer, okay?
We have surveyed many markets in Europe in water utilities, and most of them has already installed the sensors and are ready to apply a system like ours.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. And now, last but not least, we have our last participations, which is Sol Maya.
Hi everyone, I'm Vasilis, an environmental and agricultural engineer. which also happens to be the founder of Solmeya, which is a pivoted version of my graduate research while at Columbia University. Indeed, Solmeya is a climate-positive agrobiotech startup producing carbon-neutral plant-based proteins through 90% of water reusage. Overpopulation can be an opportunity, although our natural resources are finite. So we need more efficient ways for food production to irrigate and feed us all, unless we had one extra Brazil, which we don't. On the one hand, we keep on emitting big volumes of carbon dioxide in the air, and things may get only worse. On the other hand, by 2030, due to the water scarcity, the increasing population will be able to use only 60% of the available waters. So there must be a change. The aforementioned water scarcity, the increasing food demand, and the climate change because of the CO2 can make our lives bad. Vertical microalgae can be the optimal solution, mainly due to our water recirculation process. We use side streams from aquatic sources and fisheries, plus treated water sewages, which we then 90% recirculate and reuse. Solmeya utilizes the ample sunlight, the CO2, and the water residues through vertical microalgae for optimal land and the rest of our available natural resources reusage. By absorbing 100 liters of aqua side streams plus approximately 1 ton of CO2 through our vertical microalgae process, we produce several key molecules that are being used on all of our everyday lives. In 1 hectare of vertical microalgae harvesting, we absorb approximately 200 tons of CO2 and we produce 100 tons of algal biomass, used for several of our food products as aforementioned, plus we return to the atmosphere approximately 150 tons of oxygen. Solmeya gladly meets the core values of circular bioeconomy by serving those 4 main circles: the water circle, the CO2 circle, the biodegradable bioplastic circle, and of course, the sustainable food and protein production. Why now? Because the global protein market and demand are growing exponentially, and so does the algae one. Why algae? Because it's an undeniably higher content source and efficient way for protein production compared to any traditional source, such as soy or hay. It also is way more nutritional and digestible, full of omega-3s, carotenoids, lipids, and polysaccharides. Given our market research with Northeastern and St. Gallen universities, we expect to capture approximately 1% of all clusters we're currently doing business with, which can be translated in almost 70 million. With 1 million, we may absorb 8 tons of CO2, return to the atmosphere 6 tons of oxygen, and all this in just 500 square meters of non-fertile, non-arable, underutilized, non-used land in general. Solmeya's vision and mission are closely aligned with the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and we already serve 9 out of those, 6 of which are closely associated with the water scarcity. Switching over from the inefficient big land crops such as corn to vertical microalgae farming, we meet 3 of those goals. First, we recirculate the water. Second, we provide food with no GMO components. And third, it is price stable. Plus, because of our closed control system, we preserve and maintain our biodiversity. We have the seal of excellence from the European Commission because of our pilot production line, the impressive water recirculation, and the most suitable climate conditions for the microalgae natural production. Why us? Because Solmeya is comprised of scientists and engineers with real-life business experience, plus the drive and incentives to execute whatever it takes through the microalgae process. So what we do is sustainable, qualitative, and efficient, given algae's higher protein content, plus the water side streams recirculation. We at Solmeya are going to make eating, drinking, irrigating, and living a feasible part of a crowded world. And with your engagement, we will all live on a better planet. So thank you all very much for your attention.
Hello, Solmeya. Welcome.
Hi.
Okay, now the judge, Mr. Manolopoulos, will give his last question to the team before moving on.
Well, thank you very much for the presentation. I found it fascinating, a very interesting field that I must profess is above my pay grade. What I would like to ask you is, what are the minimum scale that you need to produce this algae, and how does it work vis-a-vis your profitability in the sense you have these three verticals where you can sell into. What are the costs, or the price inputs for this whole business?
So first and foremost, thank you all very much for the invitation. Thank you also for your question, and of course the organizers for this very nice event, plus the interesting speakers. Coming straight to your question, as I said in our example, with just 500 square meters and approximately 1 million of capex, we may end up producing food, feed, pharma molecules that are being sold as a B2B to Yachty's food producer or to Bayer Pharma for their own post-chemotherapy drugs. And this can provide us offer us a revenue of approximately 350K. And the capex, as I said, is approximately 1 million for just 500 square meters. We have a weighted average profit margin of almost 82%, which comes straight from the pharmaceuticals, cosmetics, and the biofertilizers. In reference to the food and feed protein, we don't have a very big profit margin because we need to compete against soy, hay, cornstarch proteins. So this is where the profit margins come from. And this is it pretty much. The minimum is, yes, at least 500 square meters. It can't be any smaller than that. Our current pilot is way smaller here in Greece, but we need to go for at least 500 square meters to make it applicable and reasonable as a business.
Great. I wish you best of luck. It's very interesting.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so Maya. At this point, I have to tell you that our pitching session is over now. I want personally to thank our startups, our teams, for their effort. And as you can see, there are a lot of innovation behind water management solutions. And I found their ideas very interesting. I want also to thank our experts, our judges, even though I have been a little bit strict with them. And now, while we're measuring the results for the great winners of InnoWise Challenge Lab Greece, we will move to the next part of our event, and Fedra will give us a more clear insight.
And I thank you very much. And all of the ideas we heard are truly valuable. And I believe that the judges have a difficult work ahead. So let us leave our judges to think about these ideas. And let's talk about what happens with the water management in rural areas. Beyond any doubt, the water as a natural resource suffers, especially in agriculture areas, due to the irrigation and, of course, the greater problems that the water suffers from the cultivation of land. But, of course, we will hear our speakers, and we have among us Ms. Fivi Koudouri, that we listened to previously as member of the committee, and Ms. Machi Simeonidou from AgriApps, who offers sustainable solution in the agri sector by utilizing contemporary technologies. Well, unfortunately, Mr. Agorastos won't be with us due to various professional obligations, but we will do it as a discussion between women. So, Ms. Fivi Koudouri, I shall start with you. Recently, it was in August, I guess, when we heard the issues related to water scarcity, a country that has huge natural resources. So, how close are we to such a crisis? And if that happens, how we will face these issues? Well, let me say that we're dealing with an international issue. It's not just related with the Greek regions or, let's say, Germany. In order to be able to understand how important this is, we need to identify the reasons behind this crisis. Well, the main reasons is, of course, climate change. And, of course, this is also related with some negative consequences in water body. What is a water body? It is a body of water. It is like a river or a lake. or the water supply, climate change, which aggravates the salinity of waters due to the melting of ice. Because we do know that water that is in these areas is mixed up with the salty water. We have also a desertification, which also leads to the decrease of cultivated land. And of course, with some other extreme phenomenon, as floods, of course, that we do know that it's a very severe phenomenon in the agro sector, but also within cities. And of course, along with the climate change, we also have a great pollution of the water, pollution from pesticides, pollution from plastics,
pesticides. So
all of these issues create an additional pressure on the quantity of water we have available to consume. Thirdly, we have a great irrigation waters from the aquifer, and this creates a problem and pressures in the ecosystem, not just in the aquifer, but it creates problems in the stability and the cycle of water. Moreover, we have bad management of water resources. Bad management of water resources and bad management of the water change, production of food and energy. And of course, ecosystems. So this is a nexus that we need to fully understand and then manage it as such in order to see the potential synergies and how nature itself is resilient against this interaction between water, food, and energy production. In other words, this bad management of water leads to a bad management not just of the water itself, but also the production of food, the production of energy through water, and of course the preservation of the ecosystems. And of course, as I said, these have negative consequences in every potential field. Moreover, we have a great issue related to the urbanizations. By 2031, 50% of people will live in urban cities, and this creates huge pressure on the demand for water, demand for food, and how the water is dispersed in its various uses. In other words, we're talking about drinking water, water used in the farming sector, from the industry, water used in the tourism sector, and tourism, and water, that is used in tourism, and the water that we leave in the actual fields for the ecosystemic operations to be functional. And we also have a water crisis because through the years, right from the initiation of the civilization, water was of paramount importance for the construction of cities and cultures and civilizations. So as a consequence, this creates a lot of geopolitical, let's say, inequalities, wars along rivers, lakes, etc. I'm not going to get into these details. Especially, we know how things that happen in the Middle East. And of course, this has led to wars and problems that are not yet solved. So the water crisis is a global issue, a complex issue. It is a complex challenge for our generation. And I believe the way that we can face these issues is by thinking what this Agenda 2030 says with the 17 developmental goals and the 169 objectives. What are the interactions between ecosystems and how we can face the actual management of this natural resource in a sustainable manner. So this should be environmentally resilient, it should be cost efficient and socially equal and acceptable. And this not just for this generation, but also for the generations to come. So we need a sustainable approach against these issues. So technology is of paramount importance towards this effort and towards this new approach. Because let's not forget that this offers solutions that through a concrete social dimension and the appropriate knowledge of the stakeholders can actually lead towards a true sustainability. Allow me to show one or two maps in order to understand how extensive the problem is, not just in Greece, but also globally, because water is a global issue. Yes, because we're going to face a true water scarcity problem globally. Now, allow me to leave the floor to Ms. Simeonidou. As founder of AgroApps, I'd like to hear how technological solutions are applicable today as smart farming, for example, in Greece. Thank you very much for the question. Allow me to start by saying the following. First of all, a warm congratulations to all the participants in this contest. It is very difficult to be exposed in such a manner and present your idea in such a brief time. So, good luck to all the participants and in their future endeavors. Now, allow me to say that when we talk about smart farming, I truly love what Ms. Koudouri said, and how important it is to see things for the future. And of course, the important role is to our farming, because let's not forget that farming is the par excellence center that consumes a lot of water, and probably we don't have the most rational, let's say, utilization. So we have seen important efforts globally to create technological solutions that would actually help farmers, waste management, water management companies in a, let's say, smart way, and probably have a decrease of leakages and, of course, a better use of the water, or let's say, a better management of water resources without decreasing the actual quantity of water. Now, as far as the technologies and the use of Greece in Greece is concerned, allow me to say that in order to use all of these technological solutions, we need to have a greater grid of infrastructure that will help farmers to have water available when they actually need it, to be able to calculate the water via new systems of infrastructure in the field, by saying that in this zone of the field we should actually water this, offer this amount of water, etc. And I believe that this can actually lead to better solutions, and we will become part of the solution, not of the problem. Unfortunately, this hasn't yet come
οι γεωργοί, αναγνωρίζοντας ότι το πρόβλημα της διαχείρισης του νερού δεν είναι μόνο πολιτικό ή δεν είναι μόνο εθνικό, αλλά είναι και πραγματικά της περιοχής τους και ενδεχομένως να διακυβεύεται η ίδια ύπαρξη της επιχείρησης τους, αρχίζουν να ψάχνουν λύσεις.
companies. So we see that now companies try to find solutions. So let's say that focused farming enters the primary sector, especially to farmers who have, let's say, more entrepreneurial profile developed.
Και αρχίζουν να ψάχνουν να βρουν λύσεις και τρόπους για αυτό. Πάρα πολλές εταιρείες αρχίζουν επίσης να αναπτύσσουν τέτοια συστήματα. Ο κύκλος ζωής αυτών των προϊόντων να επιβεβαιωθούν, να κάνεις ένα validation, να έχεις σωστές λύσεις, είναι αρκετά μεγάλος. Δεν υπάρχουν εύκολες λύσεις για όλους. Δεν υπάρχουν μοντέλα που μπορούν να εξυπηρετήσουν όλες τις καλλιέργειες σε όλο τον κόσμο ανά πάσα στιγμή. Χρειάζεται χρόνος, να εξοικειωθούν οι γεωργοί μας, να γεφυρώσουμε το κενό που υπάρχει ανάμεσα στις τεχνολογικές λύσεις και στο επίπεδο γνώσης των γεωργών, πώς να τις αξιοποιήσουν. Και σίγουρα στις εταιρείες σαν σε εμάς που προσφέρουμε αυτές τις λύσεις, να μπορέσουμε να καταλάβουμε ακόμα καλύτερα, να έρθουμε ακόμα καλύτερα στην καθημερινότητα των γεωργών πιο κοντά και να μπορέσουμε μαζί τους να διαμορφώσουμε τέτοιες τουλάχιστον προς το παρόν καινοτόμες και ελπίζουμε στο μέλλον πιο καθημερινές λύσεις για την καθημερινότητά τους.
Θα πιαστώ από αυτό που είπατε και θα ρωτήσω
So allow me to ask Ms. Koudouris.
Ότι ο αγροτικός κόσμος, σύμφωνα με τη γνώμη των πολλών, επιμένει σε παραδοσιακές πρακτικές.
We have some other.
Επιστημονική γνώση σε καθημερινή
How can we translate these theories into
μιας λύσης που μεσοπρόθεσμα νιώθουν ότι τους απειλεί?
Αυτό είναι, το είπε και η κυρία Σιμεωνίδου, είναι...
So as Ms. Simeonidou said, this is a very important topic. It's how you can have the stakeholders on board in other words, how you can help the traditional farmer understand that you have understood his problem, you have actually thought certain solutions, a solution that is viable, sustainable, a solution that is manageable by him or herself. So the problem is very complex, especially today that we are facing what we refer as fourth industrial revolution, where what actually happened is that the technology advances in such a rapid manner that our capacities to use this technology are actually limited. And this is especially valid in farming. So in order to provide a solution, you're not just about think this solution or architecture the solution. The most important is to be able to convince the end user that it is a solution that can actually be used and understood. So we need to have the so-called capacity building. So we at the Climate Kick, but generally speaking, in my research community, which is quite extensive and works on basic research and on innovation, and we have an accelerator, the Greek Hub, that wishes to accelerate such important solutions as we saw in the pitches, as what Ms. Simeonidou does. So we should see how this can be accelerated in the market. So in order to accelerate this in the market, you need to have an engagement of the stakeholders. We're using what we call systems innovations approach. In other words, a systemic, innovative approach that, number one, understands who are these stakeholders. In other words, who is the problem owner, and at the same time, we co-create the actual vision for the future, and then we can say that, well, yes, in 2030, I wish to be at this position, have a smart farming, utilize technologies in order to be able to have the cyclical economy in order to resolve problems related to pollution, and be able to use as less as primary resources as possible, etc. And how this is related with other issues. So if we manage to have a common vision, a future vision, well then we work with other stakeholders, with farmers, with local authorities, with different sectors which are related to farming. And last but not least, allow me to say that along with all these people, we try to manufacture and create the pathway, if I dare to say, that will help us go from today to the actual vision for the future. And this is something that includes technologies, policies that should be implemented by policy making. So we should not only work bottom up, in other words, with stakeholders, but policy making should implement some new policies. And hopefully we have the Green EU Pact, and the Recovery Fund hopefully is funding such initiatives. So these pathways is, in other words, technology, policies, and capacity building are of paramount importance. And this is how we can actually use these solutions. Towards this transition, we should see Ms. Simeonidou, this is my last question for Ms. Simeonidou. How can we have this farming transformation if we consider the cost which is demanded and, of course, the sacrifice that comes along?
Θέλω λίγο να πιαστώ από μία από τις προτάσεις που είπε η κυρία Κουντούρη. Ότι χρειάζεται και πολιτική, χρειάζεται bottom-up και top-down approaches. Και αυτή είναι η πραγματικότητα, γιατί πρέπει να έχουμε στο μυαλό μας ότι οι εταιρείες, μικρές ή μεγάλες, δεν έχει σημασία. Δεν είναι εδώ για να κάνουν capacity building. Γιατί αν κάνουν capacity building, τότε οι εφαρμογές και οι λύσεις που θα πουλήσουμε στους γεωργούς θα είναι σε τέτοιο κόστος, ενσωματώνοντας το κόστος του capacity building, που ήδη ενσωματώνουμε το κόστος του co-creation που κάνουμε, θα είναι σε τέτοιο επίπεδο που δεν θα είναι οικονομικά συμφέρουσες για κανέναν. Άρα το κομμάτι του capacity building πέφτει στο κομμάτι της πολιτικής και των φορέων, οι οποίοι έχουν την ευθύνη, θα έπρεπε να έχουν την ευθύνη, για να μπορέσουν να χτίσουν στον πρωτογενή τομέα μια νέα αντίληψη. Και η αντίληψη είναι μόνο μία, επιχειρηματικότητα. Μέχρι σήμερα, ο πρωτογενής τομέας στη γεωργία δυστυχώς ήταν κοινωνικά επιδοτημένος. Ερχόταν δηλαδή ο γεωργός να περιμένει πως κάθε του πράξη θα πρέπει να επιδοτηθεί για να την εισαγάγει σαν τεχνολογία, σαν καινοτομία, οτιδήποτε. Και όταν αυτή δεν ήταν όχι μόνο βιώσιμη, αλλά και εφικτό να εφαρμοστεί, τότε απλώς απαξιωνότανε και καταλήγαμε σε τεχνολογικές λύσεις υψηλού επίπεδου. Γιατί αυτή είναι η αλήθεια. Υπάρχουν τεχνολογικές λύσεις υψηλού επίπεδου αυτή τη στιγμή στον πρωτογενή τομέα. Μπορεί να μην λέγονται γεωργία ακριβίας, αλλά τα μηχανήματα και οι τεχνολογίες και οι αυτοματισμοί που είναι σε πολλές φορές πολύ ασύμφορες σε σχέση με την οικονομικότητα του χωραφιού.
With the whole process, and this can happen with a common strategy and a common vision. So what we believe, well, we work with farmers in the production of solutions, is that on our side, we need a new transformation towards a new entrepreneurship. In other words, we have the farmer who is willing to not just continue working in this field without any new approaches and resolve just the social side of the problem. So we want a farmer to become a robust entrepreneur who will enter in the actual market.
Να πουλήσει το προϊόν του, να το επεξεργαστεί με τρόπο ο οποίος να του φέρει μια κερδοφορία ικανή για να συντηρηθεί ο ίδιος, αλλά και να συντηρήσει την επιχείρησή του. Το δεύτερο κομμάτι, και μετά να αρχίσουμε να μιλάμε για βιωσιμότητα, περιβάλλον και όλα τα υπόλοιπα. Το δεύτερο κομμάτι έχει να κάνει με τους τοπικούς φορείς και τον τρόπο με τον οποίο οι γεωργοί συνεργάζονται. Τα έχουμε πει πάρα πολλές φορές. Είμαι γεωπόνος, είμαι 25 χρόνια στο επάγγελμα. Το μόνο που ακούμε και συζητάμε όταν συναντιόμαστε είναι συνεργατισμός. Collaborative process. But of course, this synergy and collaboration has not been well understood and well implemented because we are rather negative against a true real synergy. So we need to see new terms, we understand the reality and how things work and try to understand how we can define solutions. Αυτά τα δύο απαιτούν συλλογικές προσπάθειες και πολιτικές προσπάθειες και σε τρίτο πλαίσιο ερχόμαστε εμείς, ο ιδιωτικός τομέας, οι εταιρείες, οι οποίες συνδιαμορφώνουμε το κλίμα, συνδιαμορφώνουμε το μετασχηματισμό του αγροτικού τομέα, συμπαρασύρουμε αν θέλετε τους γεωργούς σε κάτι καινοτόμο και καινούργιο, έστω τους λίγους, αυτούς οι οποίοι δυναμικά σκέφτονται στη γεωργία και μπορούμε να δώσουμε λύσεις οι οποίες θα πρέπει να είναι πολύ προσεκτικά διατυπωμένες, να είναι πολύ προσεκτικά τεσταρισμένες για να μπορέσουν να δώσουν
have some testing solutions by offering what we need. In other words, we need a tangible solution that can be easily, let's say, used. So people, farmers, do not know how a satellite flies or how an app is created, but how this app is easily used. In order to have a strategic approach, and then thank you very much both, Ms. Simonido and Ms. Koudouri, and I believe this is the only way to see now the results. But at this point, I would say that if there were some answers that were longer was because the questions were more, let's say, complex. So we tried to be as fair as possible. But before that, we wish to thank our sponsors, Connect Elas and WASP Studio, as well as our media sponsors. And now I believe it is the moment to hear the results. So, second winner, who gets the amount of 5,000 euros, is Urban Food. Urban Food, second winner, 5,000 euros. I believe it is an important amount for the company to start investing and operating. Thank you very much, Urban Food, for your participation. Congratulations. Can you hear us?
Sandy and to Manuel.
Okay.
Who took our money? Who took the 10K?
Ωραία. Να μην καθυστερούμε και να περάσουμε.
So let's hear the first winner. We have a first winner? Yes. And the winner is, ladies and gentlemen, the great winner of InnoWise Challenge Lab Greece is Aquacorp, winner of 10,000 euros. Congratulations to Aquacorp. Aquacorp, are you there?
Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Aquacorp.
Congratulations, congratulations.
Congratulations.
It was a really nice presentation. We really wonder, what do you plan to do with the prize? How are you going to spend the money?
I cannot hear you. Sorry.
Maybe
I feel very proud.
Issues.
Ναι, συμβαίνουν αυτά στο ζωντανό. Τι να κάνουμε.
Do you hear us now?
Δεν μας ακούει. Λοιπόν, να πούμε και πάλι συγχαρητήρια.
Unfortunately, we didn't have any feedback from Aquacorp due to connection problem. As far as I'm concerned, everybody is a winner. The InnoWise Lab has just finished. I believe that this is just the beginning for all the teams to participate. And I wish to thank all of you for your participation. Good luck to all of you. Thank you. Goodbye.